I think investors were really hyped in the early days of AI. Do you remember the SPAC stuff? All the early SPACs got done, and then none of the later SPACs got done, right? It's the same thing with AI. I'm sure a lot of the early deals got done, and if you're an AI company now sort of doing the same stuff other AI companies are doing, are you really going to be able to raise money in this environment? I don't know.
As you've gone through and hired 800 plus people now, what do you think is a good hit rate for the amount of people that you consider getting right?
I like to say 50-50 would get lucky. I found the people that have the greatest backgrounds on LinkedIn often perform the worst. People that were on paper not the strongest candidate or the most experienced or worked at the flashiest company outperform my expectations.
Welcome to Grit. I'm Joubin, partner at Kleiner Perkins, a show where we go beyond the highlight reel and explore the personal and professional challenges of building history-making companies. Today on the show, we have Marcin Kleczynski, founder and CEO of Malwarebytes, a company he has been running since he was 14 years old, that is now up to almost 1,000 people, protecting all of us day to day from antivirus and the like. Enjoy the episode. Do you miss Chicago?
Oh, dearly. My God.
You do?
The food primarily, and then the people, just different, right?
I lived in Chicago for a year. My fiance is from Chicago. We're getting married in Chicago.
No way, where?
At the Chicago Athletic Association.
Yeah.
You know where that is?
Yeah.
And so I moved her out here from Chicago so we have deep ties to Chicago.
Awesome. I like you already.
I also generally agree with you. I mean, comparing the Bay Area to Chicago is one thing. Comparing Los Altos to Chicago,
Totally get it. I never lived in, up in San Francisco, right? So it's very different. I've been suburban guy as a, middle-aged dude. I don't know. It's weird, different.
Yeah. Los Altos is how would I describe it? It's just a little sleepy, isn't it?
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm glad we can be doing this.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
Why didn't you move back to Chicago? What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
is your company in person in Santa Clara?
Yes and no, right? COVID was the COVID was the moment of truth. Do I do it or don't I? And and I was always thinking this is going to last a lot longer than maybe some of the team did. I remember we had a meeting with HR. It's yeah, COVID's happening. It'll be over in 2 to 4 weeks. And I'm like, we're going to be sitting here a year from now, still not back in the office. And ultimately, I was right. I should have probably moved to Chicago right about that time.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people moved out of the area. We had 300 people here in the Bay Area. We probably have 100 now.
Yeah.
People just scattered across the country. Some moved overseas. Some left the business. So we are still in the office Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but that's pretty much the extent of it.
Is your experience that I've observed this both through the COVID phenomena and when you're building a company from the ground up, if the precedent is not set,
yeah,
it's impossible to put the genie back in the bottle.
100%.
For example, if you are a company, some of my buddies are founders and they started at 4 days a week or 3 days a week in the office. And to get that extra day in the office is almost impossible. It's almost impossible.
Absolutely.
And then in COVID, everybody did the, work half the time, whatever. Same thing. It's almost impossible.
Totally.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I know. I do. And the problem is I travel a lot. So when I'm not in the office here, it's hard to set that precedent, right? And so you lean on the team around you. And there's a couple of people that are just great at it. 5 days a week, here's what we do. There's flexibility, of course. And then there's just people that are not so great at it. And so again, I travel a lot for work. It's hard to just kind of reinforce that all the time. But look, at the end of the day, it's as long as people are productive. Some people have different styles. I know people that just thrive in an office.
Yeah.
I know people that can be way more productive at home. And we've got to sort of adapt to that given post-COVID.
Yeah. Is that true? Do you believe in your heart of hearts that okay, I'll speak personally.
Yeah.
I'm running a startup within Kleiner Perkins. I've incubated a company here, and we're, whatever. It's a 12-person company. Okay, growing quickly, but you're today 12, and the precedent is set. Everybody's in the office every day, and I just assume, maybe this is right or wrong, and maybe I'm just saying the quiet part out loud. But if you're at home, I am handicapping you to 50% capacity. And again, maybe that's right or wrong. But in my mind, I'm just like, I'll probably get a half day's work output.
I don't think that's unfair. I mean, it depends on the role, depends
Yeah.
on the, size of the business. I mean, I I can see engineers getting very quickly distracted by the salespeople sitting,
Yeah.
down the hall or down
Yeah.
the row.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have a productive engineer quietly coding, for a day, and then on Tuesdays and Wednesdays we bring the meetings
Yeah.
together and
Yeah. Yeah.
collaborate. So, there's no right answer, right? And
Yeah.
you've seen companies do 5 days a week and
Yeah.
people are literally revolting like I quit and then they realize, well, that's not really a great idea to quit so
Yeah.
quickly because of that and they cope. So, I don't know. I mean, there's no right answers in this as there isn't in business in general, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's is it a weird experience for you? Like Malwarebytes, I think the last valuation was like 9 billion or something. Is that right?
I wish. No,
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
we're a lot smaller than that,
Okay,
but
okay. Like several billion.
yeah, sure.
Several billion. Is that fair?
Look,
Is it public? Is
no,
that
it's private. So, like,
okay, okay.
we've
Like
gone through
meaning no, is the valuation public?
No,
Like
no,
is the
no, no.
number is the valuation number public?
It's not, and it's hard to justify, right? Because we've gone through, like, 3 very different chapters. Like,
Yeah.
started traditional VC. I raised my first $30 million, like, I could spit that way,
Come
right,
on.
from here, right?
Yeah.
Highland Capital, just
Yeah.
right up there
Yeah.
when we used to be there. Then in 2016, we took $50 million from Fidelity, which is a crossover, like, thinking about going public. 6 years later, 2022, we're raising money from private equity, which is,
Yeah.
like, again, 3 very
Yeah.
different journeys, and, like, how did I survive all that? I have no idea. But, like, in all of those, the valuations are very different kind of
Yeah.
examples, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to quantify, especially it's been 3 years. We've kind of transformed a lot of the business over the last couple of years. So it's hard to put it. There's no, we're not raising anything right now, right?
You've only taken 3 rounds of funding, 3 like big rounds, formal rounds of funding.
Yeah, and more importantly, not one of those dollars went on the balance sheet of the business. Not It's all been secondary to investors,
It's all secondary.
all secondary.
Why did you decide to do it that way?
Well, I mean, we're a highly profitable consumer business. I think, each of those kind of were circumstantial or situational. I had founders that wanted to exit the business. I wanted them to exit the business. We've had, it's a 18-year-old business now, 2008. While there's no IPO doing tender offers and things like that, we're just kind of, able to get people excited about the
Yeah,
future of the business.
cash people out a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, and that was really exciting for a lot of people. Like, when we did it in 2014, it was called Palooza or whatever. I can't
Yeah.
even pronounce it. But people were really jazzed and, like, putting a real equity pool together at the time. Like, this business was hacked together in the first couple of years, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, professionalizing it, I suppose.
You've been at it for 18 years?
18 years. Quite
And
literally half my life now. I just did the math.
that's insane. And so you were, whatever, 18 years old?
When we officially launched the first product back at the University of Illinois.
And how old were you when you first started, like, hacking away at this? Can you tell the story?
Yeah, I was like 14 and screwed up my family's computer, like, that white Dell box everybody
Yeah.
had with the CRT and,
Yeah.
anyway, degauss it and all that. And this is back in the day of, like, LimeWire and
Yeah.
Kazaa and all the illegal stuff you were doing probably,
Yeah.
downloading pirated video games, music, whatever.
Yeah, I had a full library of downloaded videos.
Yeah, it turns out if a video is called an exe executable, it's not really a video. And so I didn't know that at the time as a kid. And, like, it's actually funny. Like, a purple gorilla started jumping around my screen trying to sell me advertising called Bonsai Buddy. It turned out to be spyware, like, many years later. But I didn't know what to do. So I turned to, like, this group of volunteers on the internet helping people for free. I mean,
Like a Reddit thread?
Yeah, it was a forum at the time, spywareinfo.com. It's long since defunct, but
Why don't you buy it?
I mean, there was very little use for that at the time, and then it just went belly up. I guess, not enough donations and such. But a woman from Belgium came to my rescue. She works for us today.
Come on.
In 2004, she sent me a long list of things to do to fix my computer. And it's like, you're going through it, and, I got a reboot worm, so this thing keeps rebooting the computer. Like, I went, there's got to be a better way. And 14-year-old me and, like, this guy on the message board, 30-some years old, like, are building an antivirus. Can you imagine telling your mom you're working with, like, a 30-year-old dude on the internet? Can you imagine him telling his wife he's working with, like, a child?
Did he know how old you were? Did you know
It
how
must
old?
have come up. But, I mean, we ultimately met when I was, like, 18, 19, and we had launched we had already made $1 million before we shook hands in person. It was
You never met?
Never met. Yeah.
You made $1 million at 18 years old?
Yeah, I mean, the business did,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We were an S corp, so we were, like, dishing all these dollars out to try to pay taxes. It wasn't real, like business at the time, not until many years later, but it was just the weirdest experience. I mean,
So when you got to college, you decided you and that other the same guy,
and then 2 more founders after that.
and then 2 more
Yeah.
founders after that decided that you were gonna properly go for it?
Yeah, January 21, 2008, we launched Malwarebytes, and that was it. It was I mean, it was literally a perpetual, like, license, donationware. It had a donate button at the bottom that said, "Pay us $25 and you could have free product forever," and we grandfathered those people in. So anybody that supported us between 2008 and 2014 and bought a lifetime perpetual license from us, we honored those licenses today. You can use the product for free.
Come on.
Yep.
And how much does the product cost if you're not using it for free?
$40 a year now.
That's not bad.
No. To protect your I mean, Jesus, you see what's happening all around you, right? Like, in terms of just not even all the businesses that are getting hacked, but people. I mean, every single day, my mother gets a notification saying Instagram has reset your password, or here's this thing from Microsoft, or the IRS is calling you. Scams and spam is all around us every single day. It's no longer viruses and sort of the stuff from the 2010s, but your identity's out there, your social security number is out there. You can go to our website and type in your email address. We'll tell you everything about you. Everything. Everything. It's scary.
Huh. I have to do that.
Yeah, please.
Or maybe not.
Maybe
Yeah,
not.
or maybe not. Yeah.
We'll show you your password, we'll show you your social security number, we'll show you your address, and we'll show you a way to basically try to get that off the internet.
So you started the company. Did you drop out of school or did you stay in school?
No, I graduated, I did an extra lap, 4.5 years or 1 more semester. Got a computer science degree with something like a 2.5 GPA. Yeah, it was good because computer science was one of the only, I guess, degrees at the time that, in 2008, that you could actually watch all the class recordings online. So try to optimize my calendar a little bit and do that as fast as I lived in a fraternity house too,
Yeah.
so that was even wilder.
Did you start as the CEO?
Yes, I did.
So you were the CEO of this company at 18 years old,
Yeah,
basically?
yeah.
How long did it take you to get to your call it first 10 employees?
Oh, that year for 2008, and so one of the unique things about Malwarebytes is we hired from that exact community. It's like, "Hey, you're helping all these people for free. Do you wanna get paid for it?" And so Mika from Belgium, who helped me in 2004-5, like I said, she's our director of threat research today. She manages a team of people that is helping the world become a safer place. Like, I've never met her.
Still?
Still.
No way.
People in the company have met her. I've never met her.
That's impossible.
She refuses to leave Belgium. I've not been to Belgium.
No way. She's never traveled here for
Never traveled here.
You've never insisted like, "Hey, we have a company offsite."
If you refuse to get on a plane, you refuse to get on a plane.
No way.
Yep. I've met a lot of people in the business, like, have done many video calls, phone calls. It's just a unique culture for sure. Now don't get me wrong, that scales to a point,
Yeah.
right? And I've long read about companies. I think Automatic, Matt was on your
Yeah.
series here. They're fully remote. Like, it, y- we when I moved out here, we made that change, and I wouldn't go back. I think there's a big opportunity of being in the office, being able to whiteboard at least a substantial amount of folks. We did do get-togethers, offsites like you mentioned, called the Summit every year, and it was like 3 days of getting together, doing all these team building, but also exchanging ideas and just really really fun times. Then just
Wow.
got way too big for that. Like,
How many
thousand.
employees?
We're about 800 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you were like 18-year-old CEO Marcin and you were coming out to Silicon Valley
Yeah.
to start the company and it was profitable.
Very. Yeah.
It's been profitable from the jump.
Yes.
And you're like rolling in like it's a very different path. It's
It
a very
was,
different
like,
path.
I'm in the cornfields of the Midwest.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know where Urbana-Champaign is, but there's 2 hours of corn north, southwest, east.
Yeah.
So
And were your friends like, "Oh, this guy's balling"?
they
Like,
didn't know.
what do you mean they didn't know?
I didn't wanna advertise that. I didn't wanna be treated differently. That, like, you join a fraternity,
But you were balling, like by college standards.
by college standards, of course.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like, anybody that has a salary in college is balling by college standards. So, yeah, I mean, but, like, again, to put it in perspective, I lived in a beaten down fraternity house, right? I wanted that to be my experience in the 4 years, the 4 precious years that you get to go to university, right?
So you're telling me none of your fraternity brothers had any idea?
My parents barely had an idea.
And why is that?
I don't know. It's a great question. I've never reflected on that, and even to this day, like, if somebody sees me with a Malwarebytes logo, I'm just an engineer for the business. Like, I want a genuine experience expression, right? I don't CEOs, I'm very much a servant leader. Like, I care about people around me deeply, and then to me, it's building a great business for them, our shareholders, like, and our customers. I mean, those are my priorities, not really flaunting what you do, what you have. Like, you can still get to the same outcome and get feedback about the company or whatever, right?
That's really cool. And if you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but you had mentioned that part of the secondaries went
Mhm.
to founders that maybe it was good for them to not be a part of the business.
Yeah.
Can you was it the first co-founder? Was it others?
No,
Like,
all of the above. I mean, everybody participated pro rata
yeah,
in the
yeah.
business, including, investors that had been in the business for many, many years,
But
like.
also, like, the actual question behind the question is, like, you met the first co-founder online, he's, like, double your age,
Yeah.
then you are already making money in the business. I'm just gonna take a guess that the other 2 co-founders were, like, business people or, like, professionals that were gonna come in and, like, professionalize the
So
business?
one, yes, the
Uh-huh.
other was a PhD, candidate at Yale.
Whoa.
Super smart guy. He was our kernel developer, and it was really weird. Like, again, this is me being naive early on. It's like, okay, there's 3 of us around the table. Even though I've been here the longest, we've never really discussed equity. How about we just divvied up this way? And it was because it was.
Yeah.
It was there was no market data. There was no thought. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
here's how the pie will get split up. And, look, I never have any regrets. We are where we are in life. And like, you can always say what if and what if that, but they were a big reason for my success, as were all the people that have come through the door at Malwarebytes. So, I think it was a very unique way to structure the business, but I certainly like the outcome.
Did it become a pain in the ass?
I feel like having a four-person, quote unquote, founding team, there's a lot of opinions. And me being the most junior, you know, none of us knew what we were doing, I guess. Like, none of us have ever started a company. And with the CEO title, I certainly had to take the lead in a lot of ways. But, you've got a lot of opposing opinions that, these are your founders, you value their opinion, but at some point, somebody's got to make a decision. And maybe that's not the popular one. So that, in that regard, it was a pain in the ass. And like, those founders never knew necessarily, at the end of the day, buck stops with you, right? The CEO of the business, right? So sometimes you got to make the decisions, and they're tough, right?
Did you ever think about relinquishing the CEO title?
I feel like if you don't think about that every day, you're kind of a bad CEO,
Hmm.
right? And maybe not in the beginning, but certainly today, is there somebody that can turn this business into 10 times what it is, what it could be, right? Um, so always on the top of my mind, just because I think that's what you have to think about as a good leader. But I'm excited more than ever. We've gone through a lot of chapters, some of them extreme highs, some of them like, extreme lows. I'd say the last 3 years have been transformational for this business. Like, what kind of, entrepreneur sort of brings in private equity and says, "This is gonna be great," right? It's a tool. It's a tool that, you recognize, I recognize that we have some challenges that somebody like that can help us solve.
Yeah. What do you think the challenges that you saw then 3 years ago needed to be solved?
Yeah, one of my biggest mistakes, I guess, as a leader of this business is not realizing that the market was fragmenting, and that consumers, we serve businesses as well. And so consumers like you and I, we care about privacy, identity,
Sure.
basic antivirus, whatever, scams, AI, etc. Whereas businesses are thinking very differently. They need managed services, they can't hire people fast enough. And we had one management team, one engineering leader, one product leader, one website, and even though the business was sort of half and half consumer and B2B, the strategy was no longer working. And we fell behind. I mean, this is one of the reasons we actually separated the two businesses into Malwarebytes, which is consumer facing, and a very strong consumer brand that never was going to make it in B2B, right? And Threat Down, which is our B2B kind of new brand as of the last kind of year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and they have two distinct management teams. So product is focusing on products for
Yeah.
consumers, product is focusing for, products for businesses, and everything changed overnight. I mean, the business on the consumer side became more profitable, started growing. We surpassed 3+ million paying subscribers. On the B2B side, the go-to-market needed to change dramatically. Security sold to the channel. So it was just a different set of people needed. We needed to split these businesses apart. We had no idea what we were spending against each of the opportunities. It was just flying blind, and it was one of my, sort of biggest regrets. Again, not saying I'd ever go back because we are where we are, but lesson learned to never try to do it all for everybody.
Did you not know this, or did you know it and you were too scared to do something about it?
Probably both. I think bringing private equity in was sort of the catalyst of, okay, I'm willing and ready to accept this change. Um, but you always thought you can make it, right? This because Malwarebytes, the reason B2B even exists for Malwarebytes is people like you and I had the same problem at home, and we'd infuriate the IT and security person by running Malwarebytes at work. And that infuriated IT security person would lean in and say, this looks pretty interesting. But that only scaled to a point when, when the product strategy and
Right.
engineering work is not aligned to making that experience good, it just was never going to work. And then I'm not a go-to-market person. Might have already seen that. I'm an engineering geek, kind of product leader. So finding people that are really good at that, I've found to be a black art. And finally, I've unhooked a little bit of that with the two new GMs I've brought in, and they're very much go to market centric. So very excited about that. But yeah, like these are the things I wish. I always tell people that are founding companies, find somebody that's the opposite of you. So for me, I'd go back and try to find somebody that's great at sales and marketing, because it doesn't matter if you build something awesome if nobody's going to use it.
That all checks out to me. I definitely agree. Um, do you think that, like, as the kind of like self-admitted geeky product technical person, is part of the, like, even if you see the market fracturing, there's almost like what it will mean for you to go and like break everything apart? Like what cultural tax that will be paid, you will be viewed like you're going to have to, in some cases, fire people, in other cases, top people. You're going to have to restructure the whole org. Like it's like heavy stuff.
Yeah, 3 years in the making, and we, like others, went through some layoffs during the COVID time. I mean, a lot of the Bay Area was affected by that. We spent a lot of time figuring out who goes where with which part of the company. The daunting task of like launching a brand nobody knows about, ThreatDown. I mean, you've probably never heard of that business,
Mhm.
and it's the formerly formerly known as Malwarebytes for Business. Splitting the financials apart, and now doing the legal separation. I mean, it was just, and again, this is the stuff that the private equity partners Vector in our case was really helpful with, because that's what they're good at. They're not great at product strategy and building culture and stuff like that. That's what, they count on me for, but they're very good at helping, an entrepreneur that's really gotten to pretty serious scale and is nervous about what's next, right? And I think they really bought into separating the two businesses because that's just where the market's going. Even our competitors did this. Um, Symantec, we used to have Norton. Norton is now the consumer brand. Symantec was sold to FireEye, and then McAfee as well. I mean, McAfee, sold their B2B business and is sorry, that's who went to FireEye. Symantec went to Broadcom. So, and then McAfee is McAfee Consumer now. That's a consumer brand. So it's pretty similar to what they're doing strategy wise. So look, I think that's how private equity thinks. I know who I'm working with, and I love those guys. But it's very black and white on a lot of topics, and that's okay as long as you're willing to learn and adapt. But yeah, it's not like the VC world, right? Where there's a lot of autonomy and
Right.
there's definitely more scrutiny. And I like that accountability. I think I thrive in that kind of environment. And so that's why I think it's been, smoothish sailing. And it helps when the business is growing again and more profitable, and like the results are, up on the board, right?
Like, are you just going to run it as a profitable company? Like, how does this play out?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've not thought that far ahead. I mean, certainly, investors expect a return, and that return needs to be delivered in a specific amount of time. And I think Malwarebytes, the consumer part of the business, is extremely desirable to a lot of the next gen players out there. There's a lot of privacy companies, that are getting bigger and bigger, and so and it possibly has a future being public too, right? With the profile, it's accelerating growth. It's nearing 200 plus million in ARR. Like it's a great business. On the B2B side, same story. Like and no surprise, we've tested the market. We've been around 18 years. Of course, you test the market, right?
Mhm.
When buyers just don't understand the two businesses smushed together, it sort of determines what you need to do, right? So I think, look, both sides of the business have a great opportunity ahead of them. I don't know what the definition of that is yet. I think it's been 3 years of cleaning things up and making the management team changes and getting the strategy right, the website separated, the tactical stuff and all that. And now popping our head out of the foxhole and going, boy, like there's big opportunity here. What do we do with these two businesses, right?
Do you just not touch the B2B side? Like how do you organize yourself?
So I have two general managers. Mark joined my consumer business unit 3.5 years ago now. So that was pretty early on. And I was the de facto GM of the B2B business and having to sort of do all the tough kind of cleanup work there and get the brand launched and make several, leadership changes. And I just finally brought in a GM of that business a couple months ago, and she's doing great. She comes from B2B security, channel sales, and just
Yeah.
knows exactly what to do and is able to do it. So I have two GMs. I have a CFO, corp dev individual, and head of threat research as well. So that's kind of a pretty flat organization for all things considered.
And what are you doing?
Well, I'm thinking about, was running the B2B business. That was a bulk of my
Mhm.
time, but thinking very strategically about how we differentiate in consumer. Because because of all the challenges I outlined, like Malwarebytes was falling behind from a product strategy perspective. We did basic antivirus, we had a VPN, and that was about it. So why would you choose Malwarebytes if you can go to one of our competitors and get a full turnkey package? You'll pay an arm and a leg, but you'll get a lot more protection. So the last 3 years have been pretty obvious around, okay, we've got to go solve some of these things. We need identity protection. We need personal data removal. So this is the service I told you about. You type in your email address. We'll tell you everywhere your information is listed, and we'll also remove it for you from these data broker websites. So like that's immediately stopped a lot more spam voicemails for me,
Mhm.
scam emails that you get from the Nigerian prince, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Nigerian prince. Yeah.
it's people fall for that stuff,
Yeah.
and the reason it's so poorly written is to weed out people like you and I who will see right through it,
Yep.
right? So really, the next kind of chapter for me this year is focusing on what's our product strategy going forward. How do we differentiate? We've caught up, we've exceeded. Now, what do we do? What do we do to protect individuals against the next wave of threats here, which are plentiful? I mean, you see what's happening in AI. AI has enabled these threats to be, there are AI attacks happening autonomously
Mhm.
on businesses. So like when you ask the question around does AI help the cybersecurity cause or hurt it, it's kind of both, right? We could do a lot with AI to automate and protect, but the criminals, the cyber criminals, are using it to their advantage. They can find, every tidbit of information about you to generate a well-crafted email that looks legitimate from a person that you trust.
Mhm.
And now you're sending money and you're wondering how the hell did that happen?
Mhm.
I mean, these are real life stories we hear from consumers that write us and say, "I wired $500, I wired $1,000. What do I do?" It's like I can't really help you, right? At,
Yeah. What role have you had the hardest time evaluating?
in leadership, you mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's been always on the go-to-market side. It's easy for me to see through somebody that isn't competent around product strategy, engineering, processes around that. For me, it's not knowing go-to-market well. Like I'm not a very markety person. I always say I can't market my way out of a paper bag if I tried. I discourage candidates in the interview process because I'm just like transparent of everything that's broken and what we need to go fix. Some people like that, but that's always been the hardest for me. Like marketing leadership throughout the 18 years as a CEO of this business, it's been hit or miss, and I it's just hard for me to identify what is a quality individual in that regard and good fit for us and what is not.
Yeah, it's not easy, is it?
It's-
It's not easy. What
no, and what I found is like LinkedIn, it tells a story. A lot of people have. I found the people that have the greatest backgrounds on LinkedIn often perform the worst.
Yeah.
Um,
Why do you think that is?
uh, Maybe they follow the job for the clout, not the. I don't know. Some people are part of successful companies, but they arrived well after the success
Yeah.
took place, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I have a hypothesis, um, which is that, like, if you believe that will counts for twice as much as skill, then if this job that they're taking is not the most important job of their life, and they've already made all their money, or they've already like, they don't have much to prove because they have all these fancy logos on their pedigree, then you're probably not getting that much will. And, like, I don't know, any, job that I've been in, if it's the biggest job that I've ever been in, it feels existential to me.
Yeah,
Like, I have to figure
yeah.
this out. Like, my career rides on this,
It's how I feel every day.
you know? And I think that's a motivating feeling.
100%. I agree. I mean,
Doesn't matter how much money you give someone, it doesn't matter.
I've found the people I've taken a risk on, maybe is the right way to put it, outperform my expectations. I mean, people that were, you know, on paper, maybe not the strongest candidate or the most experienced or worked at the flashiest companies.
What do you think is a good, like, as you've gone through and hired, whatever, 800 plus people now, what do you like what do you think is a good hit rate for the amount of people that, like, you consider getting right?
I like to say 50-50 would get lucky.
50-50, you'd feel good.
Yeah, I think one thing I'm driving culturally in our business right now is as we interview people to join our business, it can't be different groups interviewing. So like one thing that has really driven me nuts is we interview for a role, but and there's 9 candidates in the pipeline, and only this person interviewed that person, this person interviewed that person. There's no consistency. We're not getting in a room together discussing, is this the right candidate for our business? So, I've made it very clear what I'd like to see is we have a hiring committee that is the committee. Everybody interviews the same person. We split the topics, so we're not all asking the same questions and leading up to a conclusion just off of 1, 2 questions that mattered. So that's proven to be more effective. I feel like cultural fit, there's references. I mean, I think that's been okay. It's hard to assess cultural fit. You can
Yeah.
ask some questions around that, but um, we've hired people that were just huge assholes and like never would have known about it in the interview
Yeah.
process. They interviewed great.
I know everybody says, like, you have to do references matter so much. Maybe I'm completely wrong here, but in my life, like, I've never had a reference that a candidate has given me, not a back channel, but a reference that hasn't gone well.
Yeah.
Like, it's never
So I
happened.
always ask the question. Listen, I always say the following, which is like, listen, this person gave you as a reference. It's obviously going to be positive. I'm not trying to find out what's negative. If you tell me something that's negative, I'm like, that's bad, right? People give references to be positive
Right.
references. So I always ask, like, I'm getting to know this individual. In the first 90 days, what do I need to look out for? And that's usually where the truth starts to come out. Well, they're not as organized. Okay, thanks for letting me know that. For the person that needs to go into finance and be very good with spreadsheets and organized,
Yeah.
or they're not that creative, or whatever it might be, right? So I feel like if you ask that kind of question in the first 90 days, what should I be looking out for so I can help the individual? At least some truth will come out, and you may already have a decision made on the individual, but at least you can help them out in the first 90 days.
Yeah. Yeah, the way that I ask the question is, what job do you think I need to hire next to help that person be successful? And almost always, they'll say a job, and almost always they'll describe that job,
Uh-huh.
and almost always that job is the perfect antonym to whatever that person is, right? Like, it's they're just describing that person's
I
weakness
love it. I've got to
by
try that.
by describing what the person that you would need to hire next to them's job is.
I need to try that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, like it's good. It's good to know what these individuals, even if you've already made the decision to hire the individual, like knowing where you truly do need to help them. I mean, that's 90 days you're going to invest, into that individual. So
do you not daydream about doing something else? Like, I guess, like, I think the politically correct answer is like, yeah, no, like, this is my life. Like, this is it, 18 years. But don't you think that, like, part of you is like, okay, I could go and whatever, screw around and ski. Or part of you is like, okay, like, this new like, you're a technologist. This new technology is here. And it's very difficult for me to transform my own business with this technology because we're 18 years old. Like, there's only so much you can
yeah,
actually
yeah,
fundamentally do. Like, do you not find yourself wrapped up in that?
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm intellectually curious and, on in my quote unquote spare time, you know, geek around. I mean, I love flying, for example. I'm a pilot, do that quite a bit. So like I personally I feel fulfilled. I don't it's not like I don't have the time to, vacation
Yeah.
or do have hobbies. I don't have kids, so like that makes, a lot of free time, a lot of spare time.
Hmm.
Professionally, I'd be lying if that thought hadn't come up often, right? Especially as the years racked on. But I feel like every time that's happened, I've thought about what's next for this business, and is there anything out there that would surpass my excitement around that? And the answer has been no. I mean, I looked at the state of the business 3 years ago when Vector invested. There was a lot to do, and it's all things I've never done before. And where can I do that if not here, right? So launching a new brand, splitting up a business, the P&Ls of a business, creating a new strategy for this part of the business. It was intellectually stimulating. And, 3 years later, we're through the 6th inning on that, right? There's still some work to be done, and it's all stuff I've never done before and I'm excited to do.
Yeah.
When that runs out, I, I don't know. I mean, what's the next challenge? I always want to be challenged, and it's just my, you know, yeah. I mean, I think it's prof- professional boredom is not something I would want to go do.
Yeah. And do you agree with my point that like uh with AI in in the state that it is and the way that it's progressing, re-architecting your own business, like I believe you'll have a good story around it, but like fundamentally, it's a different architecture.
Yes.
And you would have to basically re-platform your entire company in a unique way. And maybe you could do it, but it's very hard. And you'd have to cannibalize your own business in order to do it. Like it's just there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, I think there are healthy applications of AI. I'm
Yeah.
sure you're dealing with this daily,
Yeah.
in your role as well. And like I feel I wouldn't call it a bubble per se, but
Yeah.
what happens next? Well, there's so many players raising hundreds of millions of dollars, multiple billions of dollars, and is there enough demand for it? Right? There are things that are changing our lives and the world. Yes, there are applications of AI that are, nominally better than what's out there today and cost an arm and a leg. I don't know. I mean, I curious your thoughts on just AI in general, but feel like, there's a lot of like the cockroaches will survive, I guess, is what I've always said. Um, but there's going to be a lot of fallout on the other side of this AI wave, I'd say.
Yeah. I think you're right. My perspective is we are definitely in the moment in time we were peanut buttering this like panacea
Yeah.
to all of world's problems. And I would say there are some things that when we say AI, like let's just kind of more crystally define it as like large language
Yeah.
models that they're great at. And there's some things that they're not great at. And I would say in the industry, we are just assuming they're great at everything. And we're solving every problem using kind of one hammer on
Right.
one nail. And I think if you're not applying it well, I think there's a I think you're like, that's not good, you know?
Don't get me wrong. My head of engineering was pounding the table a year ago saying, you need to give me these licenses
Yeah.
so we can have our engineers write code faster. He
Yeah.
was the first person bought in, and I saw it with my own eyes. I asked ChatGPT to write malware a year and a half ago. It did a damn good job.
Did it?
Yeah.
That's scary.
I mean, now it won't let you do it, but it did a damn good job at the time. And
Did it?
yeah, you could fool it to get you what you want, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, these attacks will happen autonomously. I mean, they already are. People are, are cyber criminals are writing prompts and scan this network, deliver this payload, et cetera, right? So like these things are really happening right now.
Yeah. You know, one thought that I've been having recently is like if to your head of engineering's point about these models applied towards coding and writing software, like that rate of change is absurd.
Yeah.
Like I have not seen anything that is taking the leaps and bounds in the way that the coding models are. And I'm kind of like, on the like bubble question, I'm like, okay, let's just assume that there's zero progress from today moving forward. And let's just assume that every application fails except for coding
Yep.
today, right now. I'm like, I'm still quite convinced that's going to change the world.
I I agree. I 100% agree, and I've seen it with my own eyes.
Just that.
100%, 100%. And I do think, like, not to discount AI. I've uploaded, you know, images of an X-ray to see, like, will it know what it is, and it's just like perfect, right?
Yeah.
So it, it's interesting what it can do for health, for engineering, you name it. There's many applications, but there's also so many companies vying for that top space and hundreds of millions of dollars going to billions of dollars going towards them. Like, what does that mean on the other side when many don't make it, right? And so to your original question of, like, of course, as a cybersecurity company and one that's, still relatively small compared to many players out there with a lot to go do, like, AI is helping,
Mhm.
right? And we're going to apply it within reason where needed and where we want to, grow.
I do think that at least for these AI native applications and infrastructure companies, the thing that where I think the music will stop is that there is basically an insatiable demand to just continue to consume this technology.
Yep.
And that is like artificially inflating growth rates in a way that I don't think is sustainable. And then you're investing ahead of those growth rates, assuming they will persist forever.
Yep.
And, like that's what happened during COVID. Like, there was a lot of talk about like PLG and bottoms up. And there was like an implicit, maybe, um, there's something implicit in that the product will sell itself, and that's true as long as there is insatiable
Yep.
demand. But then at some point, that spigot turns off, and you have to actually like distribute your product to the world. And we may be in a time. I don't know. We may be in a time like that now, where, um, I think Anthropic grew from I don't know, like a $1 to $9 billion or something.
Phenomenal. I mean, it really is. I
Like
mean,
that's absurd.
and those are not necessarily the companies I worry about, right?
Yeah,
They've got good customer usage, et cetera. It's
yeah,
it's the sort of, startups around the fringes
yeah.
in cyber trying to automate through AI, et cetera. I mean,
You're skeptical.
yeah. I mean, prove it, right? Get to some scale before raising tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. What do you think is some scale?
Yeah, you're asking an entrepreneur that sort of bootstrapped this thing in the beginning without raising money. B2B is a very different animal, right? Consumers a lot easier for me just conceptually. I feel like you can create viral loops and a lot of the PLG that you had referenced. Um, so I feel like a business in the consumer space can get to 5, 10, $20 million and really prove its worth. On the B2B side, you're asking the wrong person. I mean, I know that, Silicon Valley was about growth at all costs for a lot of years and maybe still is. So I don't know. But a couple $1 million on the B2B side, if you can do it, I mean, that's when you put money behind something, I guess.
It is an interesting question though, because if you're an entrepreneur and you are offered $20 million before you've reached that
Oh, you
milestone,
take it.
you take it,
You
right?
take it.
Do you
Of
take
course.
it?
Of course you take
You
it.
take it,
The
right?
alternative is you go on your own, right? Of course you take it. $20 million in the bank account helps
20 million further from death.
exactly. Of course you take it. That's not my point. It's like, looking at and I think investors were really hyped in the early days of AI, and I don't know, it's do you remember the SPAC
Yeah, of course.
stuff? Like, all the early SPACs got done and then none of the later SPACs got
Yeah.
done, right? It's the same thing with AI. I'm sure a lot of the early deals got done, and if you're an AI company now sort of doing the same stuff other AI companies are doing, are you really going to be able to raise money in this environment? I don't know.
Yeah. But this is the like pernicious thing about that. Cause if you pull that string a little longer, um, okay, so you get offered 20 million. Let's just assume that because they're leaning in, they get more of your company than they otherwise would because it's less mature. Okay, let's just assume that happens and you can like get over that. Then the first thing that everybody inside of your company does is ask for a raise because you've now raised all this money. Then you have a new investor that has growth targets that they expect you to hit, and so they say go higher. And so now you've recalibrated your baseline of all of your employees to a certain salary, so you can't really hire
Yep.
below that. And so now you have these aggressive hiring plans that are relatively removed from your growth plans because you haven't actually figured out repeatability yet. And so then you're stuck with a aggressive hiring plan when deep down somewhere inside of you, you know you may not actually have product market fit yet that you can reliably count on. So then you hire a sales team to go like sell it. Then you hire a bunch of engineers. Now you have a bunch of new people in the company. The blind are leading the blind at this point. You start to lose a sense of what your culture actually is. Then, even worse than all of this, your company feels successful because you have raised money and they are making good money. And so then they stop like losing the edge that they otherwise have. And so like if I go back to the original point of if you're an entrepreneur, do you take it? Like like if you pull the thread all the way and you believe that all of those things are to happen,
Yeah.
do you still take it?
It's amazing how much Mike Judge got right on the show of Silicon Valley because everything you just described legitimately happened in that show.
Yeah.
And he ended up taking less money at a lower valuation, right? Because of exactly what you just said. The stakes continue to get higher and higher. And I've seen CEOs, get fired because of that. Like they just can't grow into that valuation. We've been very prudent. I think we didn't have to necessarily raise that first round, the Series A, but back to trying to professionalize some of this business. It was, four hackers trying to build something and actually bringing in an investor that had seen stuff before was really helpful in the early days. So I don't know, doing it again, I'd probably be, if somebody offered me a multi-billion-dollar valuation with very little revenue, I'd question the intent and authenticity of that,
Yeah.
right? I think there's market comps out there that make sense.
Yeah. That is how it goes though, isn't it?
AI just adds a zero.
That's right. Just add a zero. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Well, it's like, if I were to try to brand new clean slate raise money for a consumer cybersecurity company right now, I don't think I could. I think that's a commodity space that very few investors would get excited about.
You think
So,
so?
yeah, I think there's a lot of companies that are out there doing it and have done it, right? And it's hard to build a brand. We're established, so it's easier to, acquire customers. A lot of our business is organic because of the Malwarebytes brand. Because if you go to a Geek Squad or an Apple store, the Genius or the Geek Squad technician will recommend us. Like trying to do that all from scratch in this day and age, I don't know. I I always think about what's next in terms of the journey for Marcin and like the next company, and how do you repeat that, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Gets me nervous sometimes.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. My at least in Roadrunner, the amount of star and early days, like I'm not comparing where Roadrunner is to Malwarebytes, but the amount of stars that had to align in this moment in time
Yep.
with these people, with this problem, doing this thing feels so unique. It feels like such an N of one thing
Yep.
to happen that it's almost hard for me to believe that that could happen again.
I agree.
Do you know what I mean? And
Stresses me out all the
and
time.
knowing how hard it is, I'm sure you're like, "All right, if I know how hard it is and the stars all aligned, I can't imagine the stars not aligning and how hard it would be."
I continue to be impressed by multi kind of uh, company founders who have nailed it every single time. I mean, it's crazy to see somebody like Elon and all that, but like every time it's a hit, right? Or Parker Conrad, right? I
Yep.
mean, uh, what's next for me? I don't know, but hopefully it's not a zero.
Yeah, I think the even more impressive thing beyond the execution is the willingness to how would I say it? Your like identity and ego is wrapped up in being the successful CEO of a successful company and being willing to start at nothing again where nobody knows what you're doing and nobody cares and you will likely be wrong and be the CEO of a failed company. Like that's a hard pill to swallow when you've reached the pinnacle of a
Yeah.
mountain.
No, for sure. And my friends always ask me, they all try in the early days tried to start a business, and and it's like 3 months in, and they're like, I'm not getting any success. And I just went 3 months, and I know I will forget this advice to myself. I will forget how long it took. I will be 3 months into another journey and going, why isn't this thing moving, or or becoming more successful? But if you go back to the beginnings, it's not easy. It took 4 years to get a product out the door.
It took 4 years.
Yeah, from 2004 when I was first sort of helped on the internet to when we launched the first product, it was just like iterating. I was building locally on my machine, and yeah, it took 4 years to just get something out the door, and a lot of it was using that same community. But yeah, it was not an overnight kind of ship something and all of a sudden money's flowing in.
4 years is a long time.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I was high school, going to college. It wasn't really, you know, it wasn't really a serious business either. So I'm glad we sort of went the way we did and shipped something stable 2008.
Has the way you've managed your life shifted knowing like, I imagine you were, like, very intense all the time
Yeah,
when you didn't think it was gonna be an 18+ year run,
yeah,
and now that you've settled into your 2nd decade of
yeah.
running this company, you've had to settle in, I imagine? Like, what does settling in mean, if
Well,
that's all true?
it stops the all nighters. I remember those days, and they were not productive as much as you might think they are. I remember I was working on a problem till 6 in the morning, and finally I just called it quits, went to bed for 3 hours, woke up, solved the problem in minutes. It was an engineering, coding issue. Like, j more hours awake solving the problem is not necessarily what you need. You need to be able to take a step back and just, like, reboot a little bit, right? So I feel like a lot of that more recently is just reasonable hours. I mean, not few hours, but reasonable hours, a couple hours, Saturday, Sunday, not a full day Saturday, Sunday. I mean, these are the kinds of things that have made me more productive, and finding time to actually go to the gym. Like, I love cooking because, like, chaos in my life. Cooking is just following a recipe. Just the steadiness of that is like calming to me. Same with
Yeah,
flying. It's just like following a checklist and so on and so on. Very little chaos in those kinds of environments. So I save that for work, and then everything else is sort of structured for me.
yeah. That's super interesting. I do the same thing. I cook every Sunday, and I basically cook the same meal every Sunday,
Nice.
and I don't have to think about it. When I
Exactly.
when I go to the grocery store, I know exactly where those items are. I don't have to think about what items I'm getting. It's the same ones every time. I go home, put on a podcast, and it's the same thing.
Yep.
Like it's just the same thing. And it's like I did it last night. Like it's my happy place. It's like a time of solace where I can just get kind of lost in the routine of it. Um, it's useful, isn't it?
Well, it's why jobs wore the turtleneck, right? Isn't it just to not have to think about it every day? Just
Yeah,
put on
like
the
lower the
turtleneck.
cognitive load.
Yeah, I mean, you know how much time we spend thinking about real problems at work. I don't wanna do that in life. Like, what do we wanna cook tonight? Same thing as it last week. That's fine, you know? It's
How often do you this is a weird question. How often do you dream about work?
Huh. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that. Uh, I think only around the negative things, which is funny. Like,
Same.
it's more about, like, the tough decision that's coming up. Maybe call it a nightmare, not a dream.
Yeah, it's more of a nightmare.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't really dream about happy work, which is, I guess, tells you everything.
Yeah, yeah.
You said the same thing, huh?
Um, I would say when I am going through something that is stressful, that I'm not sure, like, there is no book that I can read,
Yeah.
there's no advice that I can seek. It's like an N of one decision that really matters to the business. It will enter my subconscious, and I will dream about it.
Well, and that's how the brain's working through problems, right? And probably ended up the other morning with a better decision in mind, or you know, worked through the problem.
Yeah, but it is like, you're right, it's never the good things. It's never the good things. Yeah, I wonder if it's, like, my mind trying to process it.
Totally.
You think that's what it
I
is?
think so. Yeah. I mean, you wake up rattled, but with more clarity. I feel, or at least I do. So, um, yeah. I mean, that's my brain's way of kind of working through the tough stuff.
And, like, you mentioned you have no kids. So has work been your priority forever?
Yeah.
Since you were in high school?
Yeah. I mean,
Like, it is the thing.
it's like your identity, right? If you build this business from, yeah, I mean, 14 years old, I guess is my first, somebody donated me the Malwarebytes domain name, by the way. That's how the name got
Wow.
started. So, like, yeah, from 2004 to now 2026, that's 22 years. That's more than half my life just spent excited about this opportunity. And look, there's troughs and peaks of that excitement, but yeah, I love what I do, and it's helping people. It's hard to complain about a mission statement that strong, right? It's helping people stay safe online. I've seen enough emails from customers where we've literally saved their ass. That's just like that keeps you going too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Has anybody been able to stick with you for this long?
Uh There are at least 25 to 30 people in the business that have been around for 14 years, 13 years,
Damn.
and we celebrate every anniversary.
Anniversary of what?
Every year. Every year, everybody.
But what is the anniversary date?
From the day they started with the
Oh,
business.
they started.
Yeah, so we've got pictures of them, and, like, there's so many and we do monthly all hands, there's always a picture of somebody 13, 14, 15 years on the job.
That's insane. Oh, so you celebrate every employee's anniversary
Correct, every month, yeah.
every month
Of
on
that
an
yeah.
annual anniversary.
Exactly.
And you put a picture of them or
Yeah,
something? Why do you
yeah.
do that?
Uh, cultural. Like,
But why?
I wanna recognize those people,
But why?
especially because they deserve it. They work their ass off. And, like, at some point, money is money. I mean, of course, if I could pay everybody an extra 0 on their pay stub, I absolutely would. I can't, right? Like, we've gotta remain disciplined. So it's the little things that go above and beyond. I mean, wherever we can. One thing I've made clear to I have made it a point that I'm always reachable, especially with people that have been here a long time because they know best of what's going on in this business. You can't just sit there in armchair, run the business. You've got to get feedback from these individuals. So, like, to me, it's just all part of the culture. I, we started it 15 years ago and we haven't stopped.
How often do people reach out?
Oh, quite a bit. I mean, we've got Slack. I'm very open. Um, sometimes the old timers, which I am one, you see at an event annually, and it's like we've been working together this entire time, and so it's great to see these faces, and like a lot of these people are not 9 to 5 type people, right? When we started this business from 2004 to, let's say, first couple of years, these people we picked off these message boards who, like I said, I've hardly met a few. They're not 9 to 5 people. I don't think they would thrive in that kind of environment either. So you've got to manage them accordingly. Like, you've got subject matter experts that are best at what they do in threat research, engineering. They work from home, they work on their schedule, but their output is amazing. And you've just got to respect that.
Yeah. It's a different breed.
It's a different breed. And that's what makes it fun. Is like you've got to manage these people who are more like like me, and these professionals who have had careers and will have future careers. It's a dichotomy for
Would you
sure.
describe it as fun?
Yeah, I I have fun every day. Now, look, there's parts of my job I don't like, just like everybody else, right? Um, but there's a lot more parts I do like, and that makes it fun for me.
Do you have if you have in a given week, is there a percentage that you think you're doing that you like versus don't like?
Uh, I think it ebbs and flows. Like, if we have a week of a hackathon, like, I'm 100% dialed through the needle, like needles falling through the floor here, right? If we've got a board meeting, I mean, every CEO is dreading that week, and depending on if the news is good or bad. So it's less about excitement at that point. It's around just managing expectations. Here's what went well. Here's what didn't go well. But I mean, you're familiar with that too, and I'm sure you know what that feels like. Every quarter or whatever,
Yeah.
getting in the boardroom.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wonder, people ask me, "Are you having fun?" And I haven't exactly known how to answer that
Mhm.
because and again, like, the businesses are in different places. If we were a profitable business, like, it might be different. I suspect I still feel the same way. Like, I describe it as I feel alive, and there's no scarier feeling than, like, feeling dull
Yeah.
without a purpose. So I definitely feel like I have a purpose and I feel alive, and that is immeasurably a good feeling. Like, I really love that feeling, but I would not describe it as fun all the time. You know what I mean? Like, because there's always, like, a stress tax that exists because, like, even in the elated moments, something is usually weighing on me
Yeah.
that dampens whatever, like, unadulterated fun is like sitting with my buddies and playing a game of poker or
Yeah.
something, and you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing else behind it, and so I have a hard I feel like it's what I'm supposed to be doing, and it is not fun doing something that you don't feel like is your calling, but calling the job fun is I don't know. I don't know if I would describe everything as fun.
No, I hear you. I think the euphoria of those really high highs, you know, maybe masks what we wanna call it, right? To me, that's
Yeah,
fun,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
winning
Yeah,
or
sure.
being able to put up a big score on the board and, like, you then quickly forget about the really low lows of, like, you were
Yeah,
screaming into your pillow about
yeah,
something. One thing I found, that does make the job more fun is, like, there are people in the business that give me a lot of energy. And, like, I wanna marry those believers and kinda divorce the naysayers, as somebody told me many, many years ago. And I feel like, a person's run with the business sort of comes to an end when they just suck the energy out of the room and,
yeah,
like, actually do make it less fun,
yeah,
right, to your point. So but there are people in the business that are just high performers, great attitude, and just wanna keep winning, but when things go sideways, they're also there to pick you up, like
yeah,
and that gives me a ton of energy. Like,
yeah,
those are the people I wanna work with, and I will bring on the metaphorical boat, for the next for the next opportunity down the road, right?
yeah. That makes sense to me. The the way that I think about it is, um, you know, post Roadrunner, my life meaningfully had to change, and it became much more Roadrunner centric. And you kind of only get like one and a half things outside of that,
Yeah.
you know? So like your health and then maybe like the relationship or whatever it is,
Yep,
right?
yep.
And the thing that I have particularly felt good about is like on a Saturday, maybe it used to be that I would go play golf with some friends. Or on a Sunday, maybe it used to be like, yesterday there was like a bunch of football, like the Niners were playing
Yeah.
and whatever.
I'm a Bears fan, so
There you go. There you go. And in this instance, like, Saturday I was in the office and Sunday I was in meetings all day and I didn't watch the football game. But I remember thinking, "Oh, I wonder what the score was," but I never felt like I wanted to be doing that instead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that if that counts as fun, then okay. Like, I'll take it, you know?
I think you're having fun.
Yeah, yeah, maybe, maybe. Well, I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, for sure. No,
Really
it's been
fun.
great.
This is fun.
This is good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like it.
this is fun. Are you hiring?
Absolutely. Now that we've, separated the 2 businesses, both Malwarebytes and ThreatDown are hiring across the board, from marketing to engineering to product to finance, etcetera.
When you hear the word grit, what do you think of?
Yeah, we talked a lot about grit today, just the opportunities. Like, to me, grit is just getting kicked in the teeth over and over and over again and considering it fun, maybe, but just continuing to keep going and knowing that there's a prize at the end of it all. And as we talked about today, like, I've had plenty of opportunities to leave this business. There have been many, many times where I've been kicked in the teeth, but I feel like the grit is what keeps me going, and I think there's a prize at the end for everybody. So,
I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
thank you, man.
Really fun. That's it for now. If you liked the episode, please leave us a review or go back into the archives where we've done more than 200 episodes with some fantastic folks. This podcast is a Kleiner Perkins production, and I'm Joubin. Thanks for listening.